Good evening. I'll call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, February 23rd, 2026. Kristen, would you provide a roll call, please?
Bridget? Here. Tracy?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Brian is absent. Anne?
Here.
And Aaron.
And I am here. I'll verify we have a quorum present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, would you please read the school board mission statement?
Yes. Working together to ensure high levels of learning for all.
Thank you. Kristen, was public notice given?
Public notice was given to the requesting news media. The agenda was posted in school district buildings and on the district website.
Thank you. Any revisions to tonight's agenda?
There are no revisions.
Seeing none, I would move that we approve the agenda as published.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Bridget to approve tonight's agenda as published. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tonight's agenda is adopted. We do not have any requests for public input on tonight's published agenda, and we'll move directly into recognition items. And we have with us members of the ski and snowboard team. Jason, I'll turn it over to you for introductions.
Yep, so we have three of our students here from Onalaska High School that competed at the state ski and snow competition at Mount La Crosse. So they did that last week, and so I'll have them introduce who they are and their grades and some information about what they did. But I know that they represented our school district very well, as always, and we're certainly proud of their accomplishments.
My name's Kendall Carlson. I'm a junior, and I'm part of the ski team.
My name is Matthew Jackson. I'm a junior, and I'm part of the snowboard team.
My name is Ryan Newman de Robles. I am a junior, and I do snowboarding for the ski team.
Great. Well, guys, how did the tell us about the competition? How did things go? What were your takeaways from the experience?
It was definitely fun. I would say, it's always fun going to state. This is my third returning year at state, and I think it's the highlight of the entire season is that's the end goal is to make it to state, and it's not necessarily if the place high at state. It's just the experience is amazing.
Yeah. State was very fun. It's definitely the best part. The races, they're very quick, and it goes by fast. It's a quick day, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Honestly, the most fun part about state is just messing around, honestly, because you have so much time to do whatever. And you're up there on the mountain sitting around for probably an hour or two just so you can actually go down and race. Depends on what seed you're on, but messing around is probably my favorite part because as long as you don't get hurt, it's always fun.
Yeah, and I would also say we race we have races every Wednesday, pre-season or pre-state, I'd say, and it's we're on our home hill, and also state is at Mount La Crosse, which we ski on every single day, so it's a huge advantage for us, and also we're really familiar with the hill, and yeah, I would say that's probably the best part of the season.
That's awesome. I think there's familiar faces sitting in front of us. So you're all juniors. Mm-hmm. Can we expect to see you back next year for a final hoorah after state? That would be awesome. Congratulations. Okay, we'll move. Our next order of business is to look at a recognition item for donations. Ben.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. With a great deal of thankfulness and gratitude, we'd like to share the following donations. $500 from Robert George for the ML program at Irving Perch Elementary. $1,000 from David Reuter in memory of Bonnie Olson for the Engage program at Onalaska High School.
While these donations don't reach the level where it would require board approval, they're nonetheless very much appreciated. So to all of the donors, Again, much appreciation, and look forward to those donations going to good work. I will move now into our informational and discussion items. I'll start with our student representative, Karina.
I have a lot of things to talk about today, but they're all kind of short, so it should be interesting. So last meeting I talked about the scholarship opportunities and the process at OHS. So last Thursday, the seniors who were interested in applying for these scholarships, we all sent in our applications. There was one general one, and then there's a few more scholarships, like if you qualify, like if you're in like specific clubs or maybe played certain sports or did show choir, you could apply to those as well. So we sent all those in on Thursday, and we'll hear back about these opportunities in May at their scholarship award night. And then early this upcoming Wednesday morning, 27 OHS students and 3 teachers will all be traveling to Panama for the 2026 Spanish trip. And these students will be living with host families while experiencing the Spanish language and culture. And a highlight of the trip that one of the teachers shared with me is that everyone will be visiting an orphanage for 2 days, and they'll be visiting with the kids there. The students will be purchasing gifts at a local market for them, and the teacher said that some of the more like athletic students will be playing like soccer and basketball with them, and then 2 of the students who are gifted in the arts will be doing like face paint on the kids at the orphanage. So it sounded like a lot of fun, and when I went to Costa Rica 2 years ago, we didn't have like an outreach or anything, so this sounded like a really cool addition to the trip. And then additionally, the National Honor Society hosted their yearly blood drive a couple Fridays ago on February 13th, and over 30 OHS and community members donated, so it was a really great success, and I got to be there to help out. And then also, the Finance Bowl was this past Wednesday at UWL, and there's 2 days of competition for this, and different schools attend each day. And Onalaska attended the first day, and the Onalaska team of 3 students, they each won a $500 scholarship, and they advanced to the state competition in Madison. So that was really exciting, and when they explained the competition to me, it was so confusing, and I took a couple notes. So how it worked was, in the first round, there was true or false questions, and each team just got 3. There was no like fighting for them or like trying to be quick. And then the second round, they each had 10 questions, and there was no fighting for them again. They each just got 10, and they got 10 points if they got it right, 5 points if they got it wrong, and if they just didn't want to answer it, they could pass it to the other team for free. And then the last round, they had 14 questions altogether, and each team member, they all had a buzzer, and it was just the fastest. So if you knew the answer, you would just go in really fast, and they said that some of the questions were really, really hard, so like no one would answer them, and they would just agree to like move on. So it sounded like a really fun competition, and it was also really exciting that Onalaska won. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
The Panama group is also very excited about 90-degree weather. I've heard that from several of the students that are attending. A couple of quick things. Tomorrow, I think I mentioned earlier that we have our ACT prep, but the key message to our students is this doesn't replace what you haven't learned over the last 11 years. But the key thing is if you can get another 2 to 3 questions right in each area because of the strategies, because of the review, because of all those pieces, it has a significant impact on your score. If a student that's scoring currently at a 20 gets 3 more questions right in 3 areas, they're going to jump to a 23 on most versions of the ACT, which is a significant difference. So again, it doesn't replace anything. It allows hopefully a student to jump up those extra 2 to 3 points based on it. And we know specifically students that benefit the most from it are students that have fewer resources, and that's been proven time over time with this. So we're excited about that tomorrow. Another piece just to share with you is that early last week a student reached out to me. He was a member of the class of 2022, but he didn't graduate. And so if you do the math, he's about 22 years old now. He asked, is there any way I can come back and earn my high school diploma? He came and met with me. Long story short, we can use our GED Option 2 program to help him earn his Onalaska high school diploma. That before I allow him to take his second test, he is going to do a short video where I just ask him questions, for other students maybe in the same boat that are current students, just to think about that life is really hard if you don't get this high school diploma.
A couple updates from the activities. Our show choir, Winter Garden, Drumline continue their tours of the Midwest. They're doing very well. Band, they've had their solo and ensemble competition, and they have a concert tonight. On sports, we have spring sports meetings a week from tonight. So believe it or not, track starts like in a couple weeks. So get rid of the snow, we'll be going there. So in the winter, though, we've had a really good winter season sports-wise. We have conference championships in boys hockey and boys basketball so far, and we've been at the state level, as you've seen, with our dance team winning a state title, our ski and snowboarders, and we'll have a representative at the boys wrestling state tournament this week. So this past week, I want to thank our student council and their advisor, Katie Johns. They had a great festival week for our students and wrapped it up with a dance last week. And then finally, this Thursday night, I think it's important to share with the community that we're going to have a boys basketball game against Toma, but we're going to wear red for Kev, so for Kevin Height. Toma's involved in this really well as well, and they're excited as well. And we'll have a miracle minute for Kevin and things like that. So if anybody's available to come out Thursday night to the basketball game, we'll do some fun things, including recognizing some folks that helped out on that day with Kevin.
Thanks, Jason. Jana?
Everyone else's was projecting and mine wasn't, so I have to move it closer. But Crossing Guard Appreciation Week was last week, February 16th through the 20th, and today here at the district office we had a breakfast to celebrate our crossing guards. OMS is a bit unique that we staff the crossing guard on Sand Lake and Quincy, in addition to crossing Quincy, in addition to crossing 8th Avenue. Those are all very busy intersections that we need to have crossing guards there for student safety. We have our employees cover the one on Quincy Street and the one on 8th Avenue, and then there's community employees through the district who cover the one on Sand Lake and Quincy. We're just very thankful for the individuals that do that, especially when it's second winter like we're currently experiencing right now, and especially like when it was ridiculously cold out there. We allow the students to come in, but the crossing guards are still out there making sure that our students are safe. We had family conferences last week on Wednesday and Thursday. The middle school, we had a lot of engagement, almost all engagement in 6th grade. Dwindles a little bit in 7th and 8th grade, but we had a steady stream of parents and families coming through. There's 2 highlights for middle schoolers. One is winter wellness and one is upcoming, which is our middle level ed week. I'll talk a little bit about winter wellness. It was on February 13th. We utilize a number of locations around our community: Jumpstart, Playmore Lanes, and the Omni Center for ice skating, and students pick a place to go and they enjoy 2 hours off campus on a field trip, and then they come back and have activities at school. We modeled it a little bit after the Global Play Day at the elementary schools, wanting students to just be able to have something to look forward to during the winter months. Our ski club is up and running. We went on February 11th, and hopefully there's still snow and we go on March 4th. And then our drama club started today. We're in the middle of our winter 2 and our spring sports, and it's about a 6-week period between those two. So this is when our clubs start to ramp up a little bit to give kids something to do after school. And then lastly, we are meeting as a math group to continue to do work on our Tier 2 and our Tier 3 interventions, just helping students who have gaps in their math skills. We're getting some of those interventions up and running at the middle school.
Thanks, Jenna. And Kelly for elementary.
I will. I'll just second the crossing guard breakfast. So it was really nice that the district does, and we also have it with all of our teams. What we're doing is we're going to have our CKLA, like our literacy leads for each grade level. So I guess the best way to describe it is, for example, my 5th grade literacy lead is going to be teaching a lesson in front of the other 2 buildings' literacy leads at that grade level. So like a 5th grade teacher and a 5th grade teacher will come watch. And so will Kim Tholey, our district literacy specialist, and the CKLA rep. And then they're gonna debrief that. So a little bit more of a like in the moment coaching type of situation, so we can kind of learn, because I think our biggest thing is, it's a long block of time, and we're trying to figure out how to best keep kids engaged. And so what's better than watching an entire lesson and debriefing and thinking about what are things we could be doing differently. So we have that going on this week and next week. Our CKLA reps, our CKLA literacy leads are also working with Kim Tholey to develop our progress reports and match our essential standards to the unit work of CKLA. So they're doing that work as well this week and next. We have Read for the Record on Thursday this week, and that book is See Marcus Grow by Marcus Bridgewater, and then Read Across America Week next week, so we'll have different dress-up days and fun things going on with that. We have our Battle of the Books State tomorrow, and each of our buildings has teams at State for Battle of the Books. And then specific buildings, we had our fancy lunch. Bridget came and served at Fancy Lunch at Northern Hills back on February 13th. It was wonderful, and I would say the highlight was Carrie Johnson, our district nutrition director. She this year put out strawberry shortcake for every single student, not just the ones that took school lunch. And my kids and staff talked about it for days after. So we're just happy to have nutrition jump in and join us too. I know that's something we're trying to do more of. Carrie also reached out today, and she's adding a special cookie to the menu for Read Across America Week 2. So just fun things happening.
And just a quick update for Perch, we're looking forward to our concerts next week for 1st through 4th grade. We have practices and things for performances for our school, but then also have evening performances for our families. And also just a neat collaboration between our music teacher and our art teacher. Lexi Sully, our art teacher, does the backdrop with kids so that they have, art on display as well as music performances.
And I just wanted to add, last Tuesday, our kindergarten team reached out to Ariel Hall. She is with the Ho-Chunk Education Department, and so we had a group of Ho-Chunk dancers come from Black River Falls with Ariel, and I engaged with our kindergarten students around the important.
3 board members that sit on this committee, and they can, take it from here. But we basically split our batch of policies into 2, and this was the first grouping. And these were ones that weren't a whole lot of changes that we're recommending, but there are some. And the board the board members on this committee and myself analyzed each of the recommendations made by Neola and had some good discussions, and this is what we're recommending to you for our first read. There is one of the policies, I think Mark might be sharing, that there was one word that we need to still get changed in there from should to shall. So
I'll mention that, Ben.
Okay.
So on 144.5, that's board member behavior, communication, and code of conduct. Important to us, the enforcement section particularly. I mean, philosophically, what underpins it is we should remove any barriers towards filing a complaint as possible and have as much oversight as possible. So as written, we asked for a couple of things. In here, it says that the complaint shall bear the name and signature of the complainant. We thought perhaps that might prevent somebody from filing a complaint that they might not want to put their name to. So we feel we can still apply just scrutiny to a complaint, except for let's let the vice president continue to be able to look at the complaint as well, and let's not mandate that we won't look at a complaint unless it's signed.
I don't think there's too much more to add to that. A lot of things are just, as you can see in the outline that we have in the board document, aligning things with state statute and federal policy.
I would just share with the whole board that we do this in 2 readings to allow you the opportunity, if you have any questions over the next 2 weeks or concerns, that you could bring those forward to us. We can answer those questions before you would be voting on those at the next school board meeting.
Okay. Thank you, team. Next, budget planning for 26-27. Ben, to start.
Well, we've gone through quite an extensive process. We started this actually, I think, before the new year, and started putting some projections together related to revenue and some expenditures. We met with every principal, every department leader. We've had discussions administratively to come up with some recommendations, and I shared a good deal of this with the board at our development session last meeting, and Janet is going to share some high-level pieces and components to that with you now, and then we'll be coming to you next school board meeting with some items on the agenda that would ask for us to act on some of the recommendations that are coming from this budget as it relates to positions that will need to be eliminated and positions that we will need to be adding. And most of the eliminations of positions are purely due to enrollment projections and just being proportionate to our staffing with enrollment. And as you're aware, we are projecting 60 less students in next year's budget, so we need to be proportionate in the number of FTE that we staff. So I'll turn it over to Janet.
Thank you. And just one more piece of information as a backdrop. We also attached to here the presentation that we did in January that went through those very initial budget planning assumptions that we had. That's in the attachments in case you want to look at that, to just have a reference, and then also referencing back to our board development session. So where we start out every year in the process is what's happening with that revenue limit. And there are three main factors for our revenue limit calculation. One is our membership, number of students that we will have for the upcoming year. Another big component is what is that state allowance of increase? That's $325 per student for this next year. And then the third major component is our prior year base, and that's about $36 million. So taking those into consideration with those factors, and Ben talked about enrollment, and the enrollment of 59 student drop, that's not considering any students that we would capture who are resident students that would be participating in a virtual school, as well as any students that we would additionally capture because they'll be attending 4-year all-day kindergarten. However, because of the fact that we're in a declining enrollment situation, when you do the calculations for the revenue limit, because of that declining enrollment and the averaging over 3 years and a first-year declining enrollment exemption, it doesn't change the bottom line at all. So from those original projections that we have, they still stand. And then you'll see that this is without vouchers, because again, voucher money, we will be taxing for that, but that's turned over to the private schools. We do not get to spend that in our budget, so it's just, we just don't even factor it in at this point of the year, because we're looking at those inputs that are really targeted toward the amount of money that we can offer for programs and services for our kids. So that additional revenue limit capacity of $363,000 does also include the $200,000 increase that our community has approved from the operating referendum. Then looking at the next section where we were actually seeing the most amount of help for this next year budget is through open enrollment. Remember I said $325 per student for our resident students, but for open enrollment students, we'll be getting an additional $928 next year. So if we can just maintain our current third Friday count of 550 students, that's another $510,000. So it really just, it really emphasizes how important open enrollment is to a district like Onalaska, and thankfully, we have continued to remain on the very positive side of that. Then open enrollment, also thinking with all-day 4K. So again, from the open enrollment, not resident side, if we estimate that we'll have 15 students coming in at that with that open enrollment, here's the full open enrollment amount of $11,030 for next year, but we count those at 0.6. Even though they'll be all day, we only get to count 0.6, so that's looking at about another $100,000. Then special ed aid, if you remember right, with the budget that was passed at the state level, we're supposed to be up to 43% reimbursement this year and 45% next year. We're not seeing the 43% for this year. However, it is being talked about at the state level in a in as a way to use some of the surplus funds that are at the state level. It's in dialogue, so we're hoping that we will be seeing some of that, but at this point in time for next year, that increase should be 3%, estimated it at 1.75. Hopefully we get 3, but not counting on it. So that would be about another $120,000. Then with Venture Upward, estimated open enrollment, estimating 50 students, and those would be open enrollment students that we would be hoping to bring in, and again, that full 11,030, because remember, we're concentrating, or we feel we'll have more of our regular ed enrollment rather than special ed, just because of space available, special ed capacity that we set at our January meeting. So $551,000 there. So total amount for revenue projections is $1.6 million. And I guess, as I say this, like, the really important thing to remember is all of this will be wrong. Because it's going to change. It's going to keep changing even from the time that we had the development session to today. The numbers have tweaked. They haven't changed dramatically, but they will just continue to be tweaked throughout this whole process, and it won't be final until the second meeting in October. That's when we know where the numbers will really be at. So then looking at the expense side, and again, with this, we're looking at our operating funds. Those are the funds that we talk about when we do our quarterly update, because funds 10 and 27, those are kind of what we can see from the standpoint of their more taxpayer-supported. Looking at salaries in funds 10 and 27, with our CPI this year at 2.7%, estimating an increase there about $817,000. And then benefits, and this is without the money that we would put in for people who are under the old plan for retiree and benefits. We're kind of taking that out and keeping that neutral. That increase would be that increase would be about $111,000. That number's up a little bit more from when we had our development session, because we're doing some insurance work on that right now. Looking at the non-personnel costs, what we do is take and look at taking these costs year over year, looking at them from an actual 3 years and analyzing where our expenditures are, digging through that and saying which of those expenses were one-time expenses that we don't need. We need to pull those out because we don't expect those to continue, and what are the things that we do expect to continue. And the big ticket items here our transportation for our students, getting them to and from school, our transportation contract with Go Right Way, and utilities. Those are by far the biggest things in this area. But looking at, well, I shouldn't say that. There's a whole bunch of other things there as well, but those are some of the larger items there. Looking at that, we expect that to be close to $800,000. Now, when I talked about open enrollment in that additional $928 per student, we also have open enrollment going out. And so if we can maintain at 214, which what we had in September, if we can maintain that, hopefully it'll be less, but we would have about $200,000 more going out the door for open enrollment out. Then we're planning on a phone upgrade. Our phone system is reaching its end of life. That'll be about $30,000, and we're super excited about what this new technology can do for our phones. So that's something that we're planning on upgrading as soon as school lets out so that we can be ready to go for the fall. 4K classrooms, equipment and supplies. We'll need to equip more classrooms with all-day 4K. So this will be a one-time cost. You won't see that in the budget for this next year, but thinking about $75,000 to get those. We're hoping that number will be less because we can repurpose a lot of stuff because we've been a declining enrollment district. So hopefully it'll be less than that, but that's what we're expecting. Then looking at one-time expenditures that we had this year, budget year 25-26, that we won't have next year. So examples of that were the Anna Pals remodeling that we did. Don't have to do that next year. The huge curriculum adoption that we did this year, we purchased most of those supplies and materials up front. Won't need to do that this year. So going through this year's budget and what are all those things that we won't need to do in the future, it's $736,000. Then Ben talked about meeting with each department chair. So we met with each department in each building area to identify different things that we can identify for savings there. We found the most in instructional services of $80,000, and then you can see human resources, student services, operations. That looks like a big number, but remember, we're talking about taking our contracted service for technology and bringing that in-house. So that won't, it's a decrease here, but it's an increase on the personnel side. Then we look at our personnel, the big personnel. So looking at, and this is going to change, but based on where our enrollment is right now, the positions that we think that we can delete are close to $690,000, but we'll have some positions that we need to add back, like things with all-day 4K. We'll need to add positions there. So thinking about $853,000 there. And then when we have our staff retiring, even if the position is replaced, a lot of times we have a savings from the person going out, which is higher, they're more seasoned, to the newer, younger person, although sometimes with recruitment today, there's not a lot of savings, or there used to be a lot, but today sometimes that's pretty neutral. But even with that, with what we've identified so far, we think there'll be about $110,000. Then looking at the expenses for the online school, excuse me, thinking 2 FTE there through a coordinator and teachers, about $170,000. And then we have an admin fee for Venture Upward, that's $47.50, and then estimating again, then with those 50 students would be $237,500. So total projected expense increase of close to $1.5 million, a preliminary, very preliminary bottom line. But the important thing is that right now we're showing in the black. So showing a balanced budget, that's how we want to be going in, and we'll just keep refining it and getting it more dialed in every month as we move forward until we adopt that budget in the second meeting in July, or in October. Last meeting in June, we'll adopt a preliminary budget to get ready because our fiscal year starts on July 1, so we'll adopt the preliminary budget at that time, but dial it all in October. Anything I can answer?
I just have a couple quick additions. One is we will be meeting with the high school, yet they're finishing up the registration process, so that Jared will give some recommendations related to FTE needs at the high school. So that's yet to be determined. And the other noteworthy item I want to share with you is that we do plan to have our next Topper Talk, which is our message to our team members, which will be a video message for myself that will be fairly scripted, but it will kind of outline the specifics of the budget. So we're transparent with our team members prior to the board making any kind of votes on position additions or deletions at next board meeting. So that will be coming. Thank you.
Janet, a question. So Ben started mentioning the driver for this is a reduction of about 60 students is what we anticipate to lose. You mentioned the online school, and I remember that same thing, $11,000 per pupil, about $47.50 goes to our partner, and to be cost positive on that and break even, we have to have about 50 students.
About 37. 37 students will, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be answering your question, so come back at me if I didn't. So where it gets confusing is that the 60 that Ben is talking about is on the revenue limit. So those are membership, those are students that are within our boundaries. When we're talking about the online school, the virtual, those we're talking about all open enrollment. So those are all students outside our boundaries. So it's a different group of students. Did that answer your question?
It does. I guess bigger picture for me is if we're doing all these efforts, and they're great ones, to counter the declining enrollment, right? It's not a fait accompli. We're going to fight it. So if we fight it and we're successful and it bears fruit, are we reducing positions before we've given the paths a chance to be walked and succeed? Or are we reducing them before we get a chance to win? There's so many, I mentioned
Yeah.
at the last board meeting, right, that there's all these things we're doing. If we start with reductions and then we're successful, are we at a positional disadvantage? Whereas if we just waited for the fruit to bear fruit, we would maybe not have to do the elimination.
I think I understand it now. So the reductions that we didn't do a reduction, they'd have a class size of like 13 or something like that. Sonny, do you want to try?
I'll add to this.
Okay.
I mean, I think that the reductions that we're recommending, we would be making those recommendations whether we were reducing or we were flush with money. I mean, it's purely trying to be proportionate. Like if we didn't make like a reduction in one grade level at a school, you could have 10 students in a class, or something that would be really like you would never see. And we're still able to stay within our guidelines and parameters of class size and make some of these reductions. And then some of the other reductions that you're seeing up there, if you look at the additions, we're repurposing a lot of the positions to be aligned with the direction that we hope to go in our vision as a school district. There's only a handful of what I would call true deletions up on that recommendation sheet, and those are primarily all because of just decline in enrollment. And it would be, in my opinion, foolish to not make those reductions, because we would just be in class sizes that would not be conducive to operating a school.
And maybe, and can I add to that before you, another thing too, we have, some of the reductions are like due to retirement, so repurposing. So there is no pink slipping process from the standpoint of none of these things are deletions from the standpoint of anything that's going to be a change for us.
60 student delta, and then there will be eliminations, which are the words that we're using, at least in the room. If we have speeches that are scripted, I would maybe encourage us to have speeches that are anything but scripted. And then maybe perhaps like lead with some of these things, there are retirements and there are all these things that will naturally occur. And then in addition, because of these things, these other things will occur. And then if we're consistent and clear in that messaging, it might resonate differently than like 60 students short, and then from different places, right? But that is the driver, because I think the fair question back would be, there's all this effort underway to counter that. So then why are we moving towards eliminations again before we give that a chance to succeed, making all allowances for the different places where those things come from? I would just encourage us as a board member, I think this is one of our more significant responsibilities, is being aware of plans like this that reduce staffing. So it's just worth being really intentional in how we communicate that message and what it's rooted in. And words matter in terms of how we communicate that to our team.
I just have a question. I know that you said the numbers are all kind of a conservative estimate, right? And that they will change. For someone who's looking at like the 4K classroom equipment and supplies, I know you said you're hoping to like come under in that. Are there any major like big ticket items that we're looking at for that, or? And if you don't know the answer, that's okay.
Not really major big ticket things, no. We still have a lot of furniture from at Northern and at Eagle. They both had additional classrooms that were fully furnished in the past 5 years. So we still have a lot of that, and we would be looking at using that to furnish those classrooms. But then I don't know.
Yes, so just wanting to like put that into perspective.
Yeah, the ones
'cause
that we
when you
have
see
to-
that, you're like, what? And then, but they're substantially more expensive.
And again, we're going to do this proportionately to the enrollment we get, so I'm not going to just order a bunch of things for us to store and not use, right? But we do have a lot of things that we can take out of storage and clean up and put back to where it was before, and then add to what we need to.
Yeah, I wanted to take the opportunity to just say I appreciate that you're looking to upcycle and use the resources that we already have available to us in our district and looking there first. I really appreciate that you're taking the time to do that.
I know Kelly has a shed full of some stuff, and Mr. Matt would love to get it into a classroom if he could, so we'll do that before we purchase anything.
Thank you, guys.
So Ben, this was on for our first reading, and it'll come back in a future meeting for approval.
Yeah, and I just remind the board that we don't actually the board doesn't officially approve a budget for next school year until, what, June?
Yeah, we'll do a preliminary budget on June, but we really aren't going to know a whole lot more than we know right now. We'll just get a few numbers a little more dialed in, but it really isn't until we start school, because that's when we see the whites of their eyes and we know that how many kids we'll have for open enrollment and then how many of our own students we have.
Thank you. Let's move on to action item number 14, which is the 2026 summer school course offerings, and we welcome Jen Kalis.
Hi, everybody. Jen Kalis. So glad to see you. My two favorite things, 4-year-olds and summer school. So this is my favorite meeting tonight. I could talk all day about both, but I've had the privilege of meeting some of you. If I haven't met all of you in person in the board, it's nice to see you. I get to bring before you today an approval for our summer school offerings. I believe that it's been sent to you, or Kristen was going to show part of it, but I know that you've had access to look at a few of the things that we are proposing for this summer. Your approval tonight will just help us move forward with final planning and some enrollment, getting ready for April already. Of course, our courses are always contingent on how many people enroll, and if they do not meet or maintain the required numbers, we'd have to adjust those courses accordingly. And so this year, there's some primary updates we wanted to make to you that we summarized for you kind of on the top half of that sheet. Kind of at a glance, some of the new things. Big deals for us is the location for July. Grades 1 through 4 will be at Northern Hills, and grades 5 through 8 will be at the middle school now that it's all completed, and we're very excited about that. Also, kindergarten camp will continue to be held at the 3 elementary buildings, so that part will stay the same. Our grades 1 through 8 in their morning academic programming will be in July only. My understanding is you've had some background information on kind of some of those decisions with our summer school committee. And the grades 7 through 8 project-based learning, the July academic theme will be plan an international trip. And that was after a lot of discussion and input from Jana and others, so we can access the great things in our lacrosse area, but put the focus on what that might look like for international resources. So that should be exciting for the kids this summer. And then our multilingual learner program will run 1 week in June. The On a Venture for OHS will be Monday through Thursdays. That's going to be June 1st through the 24th. And the On Ability will be added to practice work-life skills, and that will be June 1st through August 14th, 2 days a week and about 3 hours a day. And then OHS had also reported additional Phy-Ed classes for students in the grades 10 through 12. So on paper, I think this is sounding like a great summer, and loving to talk about all the warm things. We appreciate your support, and happy to answer any questions, or we have several members from our summer school committee here too if you had input for us before you go on to the next things.
Team, any questions?
I just want to thank you for all your hard work, the committee as well. All 3 of my kids have gone through this, and it's just exceptional. So the baton of education is well handed off to you guys in the summer. The LAPAS ran really well, and it's back, but it's just superior programming, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
I will make a motion to approve the 2026 high school, middle school, and elementary summer school course offerings as outlined by Jen and in enclosure 14 summer
second.
school.
Motion by Bridget, seconded by Eric to approve the 2026 summer school course offerings as presented by Jen and detailed in enclosure 14 summer school. Are there any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Jen. Okay, now we have our consent agenda. We'll remove item number B1 to discuss some pending retirements. But first, let's take and ask if there are any other requests for separate consideration from the consent agenda.
Seeing none, I would move that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of B1 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Mark to approve the consent agenda other than item B1. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved, and I guess we'll first turn it over to Mr. Sainer. Todd.
All right. Christine Stoltz is on our list for retirement request tonight, and just wanted to say a few things. I'll try to rein it in, but there's a lot to say about Christine. When we hired her back in 2002 as a half-time LMC director, we still had the kindergarten center. So we had the need for extra time from LMC director. Did a great job there for a few years with Steph Kura, and we had a fourth grade position open, and she applied for that, and we interviewed her for that, and made the wise choice of also moving her to fourth grade, where she spent most of her time in Onalaska. A fantastic, conscientious teammate, very student-centered, sought and accepted feedback extremely well, always looking to improve, really fit our district values in that role as well. And then, when Steph Kura retired, she applied to move back into the LMC director position, which we certainly did, honored that request as well, and has done a great job not only managing the thousands and thousands of dollars of budget in the LMC, but constantly researching new materials, purging old materials, seeking out input from staff, how she could help them. So just a critical component to our team at Eagle Bluff. And so, needless to say, will be a very difficult teammate to replace. But we do wish Christine all the best in her next phase of life.
So someone who exemplifies what it means to be a hilltopper and
Absolutely.
a mentor and so many other things. So thank you, Todd. And Jared, retirement at the high school.
You know, we have 3 retirees this year, and ironically, all 3 of them have spent their entire career within the school district, and 2 of them, including Shep, entirely at the high school. He student taught at Onalaska High School, and then that summer after, as he was on his way moving out west, got the call that there was a position, came back to OHS, and hasn't left in that time, over 33 years at OHS. Obviously, longtime coach in both cross country and track, but also, you know, the area that has been his home the last 10 years has been world history. Very passionate about that, and was a leader in starting AP World History, which requires a tremendous amount of knowledge across, I was going to say decades, across centuries and centuries and centuries of history around the
It's just absolutely incredible. As you know, they do that every year. They come back, and all the alumni run the race, and there are alumni that were there, I think, the first year he coached, which is such a testament to one's, as a coach, you can be transformational, right? And that's such a testament to him, is that people come back decades later to still show up and be present for when he's there. So I've just not met many people in my life that are as transformational as he is, who cares as deeply about every student as a young man, woman, student, and athlete. He's just unbelievable. He'll be missed.
And that alumni race group has actually started a scholarship in his honor about 5 years ago, that they've awarded the last 4 to 5 years.
This does require board approval, item B1.
I'll make a motion to approve the retirements as described by Mr. Sainer and Mr. Schaffner and outlined in the consent agenda B1.
Second.
Motion by Tracy, seconded by Mark to approve the consent agenda item number B1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is also approved.
motion to adjourn.
I was gonna say, we have no further business.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Bridget, seconded by Tracy. All those in favor?
I.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Don't forget to